from Soccer House in Chicago, welcome to Studio 90. All this week we'll be announcing the winners of the 2010 Best of U.S. Soccer Awards. The 9th annual awards were all decided by the fans voting on ussoccer.com. Now let's take a look at the first 4 winners. The 2010 Best Photo winner is The Pile, taken right after Landon Donovan's crucial goal against Algeria. Second place also comes from that game, while third place goes to a photo capturing Victor Pineda's bicycle kick in the 2010 Development Academy U15-16 championship game. The fans voted the famous Landon Donovan goal at Loftus Versfeld as the best goal of 2010, with Donovan's strike against Slovenia and Michael Bradley's crucial goal from the same game rounding out the top 3. No surprise, the USA's win against Algeria garnering the award for Best Team Performance, that victory giving the U.S. the top spot in group play in the World Cup for the first time in 80 years. That performance beat out the USA's 2-goal comeback against Slovenia, as well as the women's national team's victory against Germany. And finally, the Best South Africa moment brought to you by Budweiser is the Dog Pile for the Ages, which commemorates that famous moment when the USA booked their spot in the knockout round. We are now joined from Los Angeles by U.S. midfielder Landon Donovan, who had a part in all 4 of today's awards. Landon, the U.S. team's victory against Algeria won the award for Best Team Performance. Obviously a landmark victory for the United States, but what made the performance so special?
Well, when people remember that game, actually early on, Algeria had a chance to score and hit the crossbar. And slowly after that, we got into the game and we had some really good chances. I think it was just very dramatic more than anything. There was a lot of good chances we had to score. Josie had a good chance. Clint hit the post. And as time wore on, I think the realization that this was it if we didn't score started to set in, and that made it more tense, a lot more pressure, but also ultimately a lot more exciting. There was a good part of the end of that game, probably 20-25 minutes, where we realized we needed to score, and those of us attacking players took a lot more liberty sort of cheating and just staying up the field. Our back 4, Michael Bradley and Tim, did a fantastic job making sure we didn't get scored against. And in all of this, people often forget that. So that made it a true team performance, and particularly with the goal, we were numbers down, still defended well, Tim caught the ball, and then everything happened from there.
You talked about how the U.S. team created a lot of opportunities and continued to pressure as the game went on. Even though the final minutes were counting down, Landon, did you still have confidence that the team could get the game-winning goal?
For some reason in that game, there was never a real worry that sat in. Sometimes you play a game like that, you hit the post, you get a lot of chances, and you get the feeling that you're not going to score that day, it's not going to happen. But that worry never came into my head personally. You know, did I know all along it was going to happen the way it did? Of course not. But I never had that sense of fear that it was going to end that day. I don't know why, it was just a feeling I had.
You described this as a total team performance. What was the atmosphere like on the field when the final whistle blew and you knew you'd advanced out of the group?
Well, what happens during a World Cup process is it's not just the 90 minutes against Algeria or one moment where we score a goal or our team playing in that game. What happens is for 4 years you're together and you're with a bunch of guys, a bunch of the same guys for the most part. You go through qualifying, which is an intense process. You spend a lot of time with these guys, and so that moment was a culmination and an enjoyment of everything we had been through. And it's really sad when you put so much work in and then things don't happen like that. So I think we all were appreciative of what we had done, and our goal all along from the beginning, from the day Bob came in, was we wanted to get out of our group in the World Cup, and in that moment it all came together.
Landon, I'm sure it's no surprise the goal against Algeria was the foundation for several awards, including Best Goal, Best Photo, and Best South Africa Moment, brought to you by Budweiser. I know you've been through it 1,000 times, and I'm sure it never gets old, but just take us through the moments when you scored the goal.
Well, immediately it's the ball comes off your foot, and having done this for a long time, you know when you shoot the ball if it's going to hit the net or not. So there was that immediate reaction. Running by a few guys immediately and starting to celebrate, seeing their smiles. And then the image I have that will always last is turning my head and looking towards our bench and just seeing a full sprint of a bunch of guys towards the corner, and probably a bunch of guys who shouldn't have been sprinting towards the corner, and kind of all meeting there, and just pure enjoyment. And it's rare in any sport, and it's rare in our sport, that you have a chance to really celebrate in that way, and it was really cool.
We'll take a look at the shot that won the Best Photo Award. You probably weren't aware of it at the time since you were on the bottom of the dog pile. But what's going through your mind as you're running towards the corner and you see not only the whole team, but pretty much the whole staff chasing after you?
Well, I remember sliding into the corner, and I also remember being aware enough in that moment to cover myself up because I didn't want to get hit by a bunch of guys. So there's the few seconds, which who knows how long it lasted. There's a few seconds where you're just so excited, and then you sort of have the realization like, okay, get off me because I'm going to suffocate down here. There's a bunch of guys, heavy guys, jumping on you, and so it was a great moment, and it was, obviously it was something we'll never forget, but a lot of fun.
I know you watched video of that celebration, possibly even that night after the game. What did you think of Jay Demerit's grand entrance into the celebration?
There's quite a few impressive moves. I know Stuart Holden was one of the first there. Jay's flip was unprecedented, I think, in any sport or in life in general. Our fitness coach, assistant coach Pierre Barriou, had an interesting reaction too. I think our head trainer, Ivan Pierre, was down there, so there was a lot of interesting things going on for sure.
Landon, that moment's been encapsulated in video and photos that continues to draw excitement even today. Do you think that type of iconic moment in U.S. soccer history will have a lasting impact on generations to come?
Well, it's hard to know just how people accepted it back home. When we're in it, it's different. It's a different feeling. In some ways, it's not. It's exciting in a different way because it's something we do all the time. So it was a big goal. It was an important goal, but we've all scored a lot of goals in our career. For people watching back home, I think it carries something different because they'll remember exactly where they were when that happened. And, you know, I don't think it's going to revolutionize soccer in America. I don't think it's going to take us from being where we are to being as big as the NFL overnight or the Olympics or things like that. But it is an important memory, and more often than not, people come up to me and the one comment they make is, you know, I was with my dad during that time, I was with my brother, I was with my son watching, and we'll never forget that moment in our life, and that's really special.
Landon, thanks for taking the time, and congratulations on all your success in this year's Best of U.S. Soccer Awards.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Well, that's it for this episode of Studio 90. We'll be back later this week with more of the winners from the 2010 Best of U.S. Soccer Awards.